let's take a look at how we define industrial ecology. So industrial ecology is not necessarily about living organisms. Instead, they are what we call a technological organism. Technological organism is a fancy term. It's AKA a factory, right? Or some other kind of industrial activity like mining or agriculture, oil refining and so forth. So that's a technological organism. So industrial ecology is the study of technological organisms, their use of resources, and the consequent environmental impact because of this use. And we look at ways in which we can restructure the interaction between between the technological organisms and their environment so that we can contribute positively to global sustainability. So that's what industrial ecology is all about. We look at technological organisms' use of resource, the environmental impact that would surely follow, and how we can restructure so we have improved sustainability. Now, there are many parallels between industrial and biological ecology, even though that does not seem obvious at the first pass. Now, the analogy between the two is particularly appealing because of the concept in biological ecologies of cycling, or rather recycling and reuse of materials. So if we can learn and adapt that, and we seem to be doing that, right? I mean, each of you has a recycling bin from your garbage disposal company. I don't think your grandparents would even relate to what a disposable bin is. All of our buildings have different colored bins where we drop off trash. There are those for plastics, there are those for aluminum, and then general trash. So the key thing is it encourages the notion of cycling or recycling. Let's talk about what is a biological organism. I mean, you all know what it is. It's a good example is your domestic cat or dog. But formally, a biological organism is any entity that is organized internally to sustain life activities. And surely your cat and dog fit that. What are some characteristics of biological organisms? And much of this you probably know, but let's just discuss this because we're going to apply this to technological organisms or factories and see whether they meet these. The first characteristic of a biological organism is that it is capable of independent action, right? Your cat or dog is a pretty independent entity. Cats probably more so than dogs. They will do whatever it is they want to do. You cannot compel it to do otherwise. And human beings too, we are independent beings. So that's a sign of a biological organism. Another one is all biological organisms utilize energy and material resources. What about the domestic cat or dog? Well, certainly they do that. I mean, you feed them, they use energy, their metabolic processes uses energy to convert them. Plants do that too. They use sunlight, chlorophyll, and water and nutrients. So material and energy is implicated. They are capable. Biological organisms are capable of reproduction. We see that there are kittens and puppies, and plants produce seeds, and from seeds we can have more plants germinate. And biological organisms respond to external stimuli. With the domestic dog, I mean, whether it's reacting positively to its owner or reacting aggressively to a stranger because it thinks there's an imminent danger, so they can respond to stimuli. All multicellular organisms, which means us, plants, our cat and our dog, all started off as one-celled organism and then became big. Take the human fetus. At some point, it's a mass of cells, and as it moves along, those cells, they differentiate. And so some will become internal organs, some will become limbs and so forth, but we start off at a cell level and we expand. And all biological organisms have a finite life. We all know this. So these are some common characteristics of biological organisms. I don't think you really needed to be told this, but I bring this up because the question is, What about technological organisms? Do they even deserve to be called that? So the fact is, the word organism is not limited only to living things. So it applies to anything that is analogous, meaning similar, that is analogous in structure and function to a living thing. So in this sense, what about a factory? Does that qualify as an organism? Well, let's go back to this list and see whether a factory, like say Walmart, it's a business, it's not a factory, it's a business organization. Will it qualify? Are Walmarts capable of independent activity? Of course they are. I mean, when you talk about Walmart, we're not only talking about the material in there, but the people and computer, decision-making support and so forth. Walmart makes a lot of independent decisions. Who their customers will be, who their contractors will be, what kind of products they will stock and so forth. Do they utilize energy and material resources? Yes. Think about a copper smelter, right? They use copper ore, they use electrical energy in a furnace to melt the ore and create copper ingots. So clearly material and energy is used. Are they capable of reproduction? No, not in the conventional sense, but Walmart started off as a mom and pop store in Arkansas, and there are Walmarts all over the world today. So if reproduction is seen as creating duplicates of oneself, then yes, in that limited sense. Does it respond to external stimuli? Of course, you bet. For example, Walmart in a trade war, because China produces or provides certain product for Walmart, you can bet Walmart is constantly monitoring its supply chain and proactively will find new suppliers if there is a possible disruption in supply. So it can respond to stimuli. Or customers don't like a particular product, Walmart will react. So they do. Do they begin as a cell and then become multicellular? Again, that's a stretch. But small stores expand, become bigger. Take the case of super Walmarts and super Targets, right? Until about 10 years ago, they weren't offering perishable groceries. Today, they are in competition with a regular grocer like Safeway or H-E-B, because you not only can buy other stuff at Walmart and Target, but you can also pick your vegetables and fruits. So they expand, and so with a stretch, yes. And do they have a finite lifetime? Yes, they do. Companies, some years ago, I don't know if you heard of a company called Ecology. Today we have CVS and Walgreens, but some of us who are old enough recall a chain called Ecology. And now I haven't seen an Ecology in the last 10 years. That doesn't mean there's none, but at one point it was what Walgreens used to be. You see multiple Walgreens today in every town. So they have a finite lifetime. So based on all of this, does a technological organism or a factory qualify to be called an organism? Yes, it would appear. With some caveats here and there. The key thing is they too, like a biological organisms, use energy to transform materials. And both organisms, biological and technological, they are involved in what we call resource utilization during their manufacture and during their use. So resource utilization is a key thing. So to bring this to a wrap, factories, industrial activity, whether it's mining or agriculture, all of them can be viewed as a sort of an organism. And so we can borrow from biological organisms whatever is desirable on that side of the aisle.